to the outside for the lead in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rockets to the front at Daytona. Listen to the crowd.
And look at this crowd behind him. Look at this race behind him. And Tony Stewart gets run underneath the yellow line.
Tony Stewart will be black flagged by NASCAR. Black flag for Tony Stewart for going below the out-of-bounds line.
The 2001 Pepsi 400 at Daytona, yeah, Tony Stewart got black flagged all right. Stewart never obeyed, but he was black flagged for going below the yellow line in order to advance his position. Immediately after the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip, and the rest of Earnhardt Nation wildly celebrated one of the most emotional victories in NASCAR history. It was a stark contrast to the all-out rage that was Tony Stewart that night. He cursed Winston Cup Scene photographer Mark Hawkins as he exited his car. And if it had stopped there, no harm, no foul. That kind of thing tended to happen in the heat of the moment. But it didn't stop there. Stewart also slapped a tape recorder out of reporter Mike Mulhern's hands and then proceeded to kick it under a nearby transporter and then charged after Winston Cup director Gary Nelson. A couple of weeks later, I wrote a column in Winston Cup Scene that began, "Tony Stewart is a first-class jerk." Let's just say that the rest of the column would not have earned me a place in the Tony Stewart fan club. Chris Gillin, one of Stewart's crew guys at Joe Gibbs Racing, read the column, and he called me out. I was told at the racetrack that he wanted to have a word with me, and we did talk. Chris, whose nickname is Spider, by the way, was not threatening or ugly in any way, shape, form, or fashion. He did, however, inform me in no uncertain terms that he was not impressed with my analysis of his teammates' actions and character. Years later, me and Steve Wade remembered the incident on an episode of the audio-only version of the Scene Vault podcast. One thing from last week's installment that I did want to mention, I had talked to Greg about the fact that one of his guys, Chris Gillin, otherwise known as Spider, had informed me thusly that he had not appreciated one of my columns. I had kind of had my little say about whatever shenanigan Tony had been into that time around. Chris, Spider, he didn't like what I had to say at all. And he let me know about it in no uncertain terms. Now, that got me to think. I am a forgive and forget kind of guy. I will humble myself and take the verbal beating that I may or may not deserve. I hereby extend this invitation to Chris /Spider Gillin to come on the show so we can hash this thing out in person and, more importantly, on the record. The red light on both the soundboard and the camera will be on. So it will be on the record. He may try to slap me around a little bit. So that'll be on the record. Hopefully, he's calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so, too. There it is, Spider. I think the ball is in your court.
There he is, Spider. Come and get him. Did I think that I would actually hear from Chris? No. I hadn't seen or talked to him since that day at the track nearly a quarter of a century earlier. He emailed me less than a week after the podcast first dropped, and the interview that you are about to see is the result. Bottom line, we buried the hatchet, and not in each other's backs. Well, Chris, do you want to start the beginning, or do you want to start the beginning?
Well, like I say, I'll leave that up to you.
All right, let's just get this out of the way. Let's just, instead of trying to build up to it, let's just get it out of the way. Year 2000, 2001, maybe 2002, somewhere in there. You were working for Joe Gibbs Racing.
That's correct.
Now, what were you doing?
So I was the underneath mechanic for Tony Stewart's car on the 20.
Okay. All right. Now, what did that entail?
So basically it was, you went with the race team everywhere. We were on the road a lot, but for mechanic-wise, it was everything underneath the car. Truck arms, gear changes, transmission changes, all that kind of stuff. You know, everything that pertained basically under the car and to the back end of the car while we were at the track.
All right. I really don't know the specific incident that precipitated everything, but I wrote a column in Winston Cup Scene that began in print, Tony Stewart is a first-class jerk.
That would be correct.
I will tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, that is not the original version. The way that I won't. It'll just make it worse.
It's all good. We're a lot older and wiser now.
Okay. All right. So we were at Michigan, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. We were at Michigan, and somebody informed me that one of Tony's crew guys wanted to have a word.
Yep.
And as I remember it, the guy was not smiling.
Not like now.
All right. So I'm just going to ask, what was your reaction when you saw the story?
So there was a lot of things going on with Tony, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's a phenomenal driver. He's a great friend. He's a great person. People didn't get to understand Tony till years later. And most people really didn't understand Tony. But I'll be honest with you, the 20 team, we felt like it was us against everybody. And I say that because it didn't matter if you were the nicest guy or you were the worst guy. Everybody found something wrong. And I think we were just a tight-knit group at the time, and we believed in Tony, we believed in Zippy, we believed in each other, honestly. And it's the same, but it's not the same, right? It's like being in the military and being arm to arm with somebody. That's what we were. I mean, that's how we operated. You know? Did
you talk to somebody before did you say, hey, I'm going to go talk to that Houston idiot and straighten him out? Or was that just a spur of the moment thing? Because I remember somebody else, I don't know if it was Mike Arning.
I think it was Mike Arning.
Or somebody came and got me.
So, you know, Winston Cup Scene back then, everybody read it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, whether it was on the airplane or in the van, however we were getting to the racetrack. And I remember reading the article, and I'm pretty sure it was at my house. And my wife looked at me and went, why are you so red in the face? And in very colorful words, explained to her that I was slightly mad and asked her to read this article.
Slightly mad. Thank you.
And it at the time, the interpretation in my mind was not only, quote unquote, we're burying a hatchet today. There's no ill feelings here, right? Like there's nothing. But it felt like it was a dig against all of us because of how Tony acted.
All right.
So took that to heart pretty hard.
The logical next question would be, who was the Tony Stewart that you knew personally behind closed doors in the transporter that caused you to have that kind of loyalty to him, the us against them mentality?
Oh, I mean, this runs pretty deep for me. So in 98, I was working, doing his Busch car. Before, in 97, I was working for Bobby Labonte on the 18 car. I heard this up-and-coming sprint car driver was coming. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Long Island, but migrated to PA. I'm a big wing sprint car guy. I knew all about Tony, and I thought, hot damn, here comes a real race car driver. He doesn't have to be from asphalt.
I want a piece of that.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I hit it off with him very early on. I think just because we had a mutual respect for what we were doing. You know, I knew where he came from, and he knew where I kind of came from. But the Tony behind the scenes, I'm telling you, I'm sure people and yourself have heard this, but it's a God's honest truth. He would give you the shirt off his back for you. I mean, he's done so many things that people don't know about that we did, and he was like a brother. I mean, he really was. You know, he would do anything for you. Like my first daughter was born in 2000. He came to my house that I was living in Mount Pleasant just to see my daughter. I thought that was really a class act, as a friend.
So, did you go with him directly from the Busch Series to Cup?
Yes, sir. I was the only one from the Xfinity team, or back then Busch team. I interviewed with Greg Zipadelli, and Greg hired me on the spot.
Okay. All right. That is test. All right. At what? Surely, the stuff that started happening. I think the first thing that really kind of hit the fan was there was an article in Winston Cup Scene about how Tony was miserable and about how the garage was too crowded and all that kind of thing. And honestly, I talked to Zippy, a couple of months ago. He sat right in that chair, and he said that kind of stuff was not a surprise. At what point, was that something, honestly and truly, was that something that you guys noticed about his demeanor, about how,
I think so, because at the time, right, like that was the heyday of NASCAR, in my opinion, right? We were growing at leaps and bounds, and people were interested in coming to the races, and they were sold out, jam-packed, standing room only, campgrounds packed. And, when I first got into this in 94, you'd go to the racetrack and you could go out to dinner and nobody would bother you. And not saying bother you, but you could have a nice dinner, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the heyday, as Tony was growing, and we all were, and his popularity was growing, people wanted to meet him, know him, the whole 9 yards. He couldn't go anywhere, and I don't think that was good for him. Yeah. I just think as a person, he will do anything for anybody, but he also needs his space like everybody else does.
Okay. You might like this. Do you remember a guy from NASCAR by the name of Tim Sullivan?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So when Tim Sullivan was at NASCAR as the PR guy for the Busch Series, he put together a dinner for Tony at I think it was the Red Roof Inn in Dover.
Okay.
And my wife happened to go with me that weekend. And she went with me to that dinner. Well, all night we sat across the table and she was talking to this guy. And, my wife, she's never met a stranger, never had an unexpressed thought for that matter. Well, she talked the whole night to this guy. And when we left, she was like, Tony Stewart is the nicest person I have ever met. He was so nice. He talked to me like I was a regular person. I go, Jeannie. I go, Jeannie. That was Tim Sullivan. Tony Stewart was down at the other end of the table.
Yeah,
that's how much my wife knows and cares about NASCAR.
Gotcha.
So was there ever anybody who kind of sat down with Tony and said, look, there are expectations. There are these guys like Rick Houston that are going to write crap about you. There are these, everybody wants this is how you deal with it.
I'm sure, as we say, that was above my pay grade, right? I'm sure there were discussions being had. I'm sure Coach had the right people and was having those discussions with Tony. But I wasn't a part of those, so I can't sit here and tell you one way or the other than I just know we kind of went into protection mode for him. Hence why I got frustrated at your article, right? We were trying to protect him from the shots across the bow that were coming because we wanted him to be on his best getting in that race car, right?
Well, I will say this. I honestly believe that there for a time, I think there was probably a Tony Stewart watch How is Tony Stewart going to F up today?
Sure.
Who's he going to get mad at?
Sure.
And I don't think that he and I ever had any in-person run-ins other than, a couple of things, nothing major, certainly not to the extent that some of them reached. At what point did you notice Tony begin to mature out of that?
Oh.
Or can you point to a specific moment?
I don't know that I can point to a specific moment, to be honest. Yeah. I think it's like the rest of us. As we grow up, we understand and we know how to deal with things, right? Like we wouldn't be having this conversation if it was 2 weeks after we had our conversation in the garage, right?
Yeah, we might be having a conversation, but the cameras would be rolling for another reason.
That's right. That's right. And right, like I think Zippy said it on the podcast. Somebody had said it along the way, if it wasn't Greg. NASCAR is the only sport where everybody has access to everybody. Like if you got a garage pass or a reporter had a pass or a photographer had a pass, like it's not like you could run up to guys like Phil Simms in the middle of the Super Bowl and take his picture on the line while he's trying to figure things out, right? Like I think for Tony, he's very situational from the time I knew him. So if the car wasn't running good, he was trying to figure out why and how we could be better, because all he wanted to do was win. Like that's all that kid ever wanted to do when I was with him. And I was a kid at the time too. And that's all we, as a group, it was like, man, we can do something here. We just have to help each other out along the way. So to go back and answer your question, I don't know that I can sit here and pinpoint a specific thing in time to where he changed. I just think he learned along the way how to deal with it.
Good deal. I have always thought, almost from day one, and I mentioned this to Zippy when he was on the show, I have always thought, almost without fail, every single time that there was some kind of incident with Tony, the next week, he was going to be in victory lane. And I, excuse my French, but I always thought that the surest way to get Tony Stewart into victory lane was to piss him off.
He definitely always wanted to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
If you told him he couldn't do something, by God, he was going to do it. That's how he was.
So doing this podcast, the kind of the genesis of everything is I have actually scanned every issue of Winston Cup Scene ever.
Wow.
From 1977 through 2009, 1,500 issues.
Wow.
Well, in diving that deep into that publication, there were some times where I believe that Zippy and Tony had some, because I think the Greg Zipadelli that came in here, he was the kinder, gentler Greg Zipadelli, either that or the politician. I think it's probably a little bit of both. But there was one incident that I remember, and it was towards the end, 2006 or 7. And Zippy was quoted in the paper. Tony and Kurt Busch had been in some kind of row. I think it was at Dover. I don't remember what track. But Zippy said, those two, I think he said those two idiots can go at it all they want to, but they're not going to destroy my race car doing it. How did Zippy manage Tony in those moments when there would be kind of heated?
Any time something happened on the racetrack during the race or something didn't go right in practice or something like that, yeah, emotions ran high at times. And while most of us worked on the car, we never saw the trailer rocking and rolling, right? So we knew they were hashing it out the right way. But I do give a lot of credit to Greg and to the guys. Like, Greg knew how to temper him and bring him back to focus on what he needed to do. Now, like anybody else, there's definitely heated exchanges, and I'm not going to go into specifics, but it's just like your spouse. You don't always get along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
heated exchanges with you or with Greg?
I mean, he would have different stuff with all of us.
Okay.
I mean, I was the guy that buckled him in the car every week.
Were you really?
Yeah. So up until when I had stopped traveling with the 20, I was the guy that put him in the car.
Wow.
So we would have candid discussions, off the cuff discussions, a bunch of BS, a bunch of real stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just a person, and he was his most relaxed point in his time of day was when he was behind the wheel.
Yeah. I can understand that, because that's the one place where he couldn't be bothered.
Right.
Other than by Zippy on the radio.
Right. Right.
All right. So after all that, 2002, there's the last couple of years had been controversial. 2001, there was a story about him being miserable. I think 2001, there was, the whole Daytona thing. 2002, there was the Indy thing. 2002, though, you won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Was that basically just a giant middle finger to the rest of us?
No, I mean, I go back to 2001, the Daytona 500, we lost Senior.
Yeah.
In that wreck, prior to losing Senior, Tony's flipping down the backstretch,
mm-hmm.
and he's up on top of Bobby Labonte, rips Bobby's carburetor off, and they come to rest in the infield, and we're all praying to God that Tony's okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And other stuff had happened to, during that 2001 season, to where if everything had gone right, and I'm sure everybody says this, if everything would have gone right, we'd have won the championship. Like, right? Like we felt like we were building our program as a group, and we were getting to be really, really competitive.
Yeah.
In 2002, I don't know that I would say it was a middle finger. It was just we were able to do this, right? Like, this is awesome. The kid's got a boatload of talent. Now we're going to showcase it. And here we are. Honestly.
All right. What did that mean to you? Were you old enough to appreciate it at that point?
I would say yes and no.
Yeah.
Obviously we were teammates with Bobby when he won his championship, and we kind of learned and understood and had an awesome time. And there are definitely memories I will never forget from 2002. Some that can be on here, some that can't be. But it was, man, I wish I'd have been older, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Through all of this growing period of NASCAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know what you don't know till you get older, and you look back at things and go, man, I wish I'd have done some things a little differently.
You talked about some of those memories that you could talk about. What are some of the memories?
Man, I can remember celebrating in Victory Lane at Homestead and thinking, holy cow, we're going to New York.
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome. Just thinking about what this was all going to entail. I can remember flying there. I can remember all the different, all the different dinners and all the different, like, I think it was called the sports rider or something dinner, where we went there and a bunch of riders were there and we had to sit with people. It's been so long now and I'm getting older. I don't remember everything, but we had to sit with different folks and they talked about the season and asked our opinion. Like, I think each crew guy and their wife had a couple different reporters or something. But the banquet, just being at the Waldorf and growing up as a kid, watching stuff on TV and hearing about it. And like I say, it just the good times of going and partying at different places and just having a good time and seeing everybody relish in the winning and having a good time celebrating from it. From Home Depot people to JGR people to everyone involved in the whole deal.
All right. I wasn't checking my texts or emails or anything. The date of that article that I wrote was August of 2001. So Tony had the wreck in the Daytona 500, but then came back in the summer race at Daytona, and he had the post race spell.
Yep.
Or whatever. Did y'all know anything about that?
I can't sit here and say that I remember that. I don't. If we did, it was very tight-lipped. I don't remember it. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure you're like, man, this guy isn't a real good interview.
No, we're all good. This is perfect stuff. Again, I think it's interesting that two people can see the same person
in different light.
In different light. I mean, and in all honesty, I never got to meet Tony Stewart behind closed doors.
Gotcha.
By the same token, you never had to interview Tony Stewart after a bad race.
100%. I didn't have to interview him because I heard about it on the radio all race. Nope. And to be honest with you, it is, I mean, it's almost like a study in psychology. 100%.
Because, there are two different, we have two different perspectives.
Sure.
I mean, whatever. I don't think anybody's right or wrong or whatever, but I'm just going to jump ahead and tie this up with a bow. What did it mean to you when Tony Stewart was named to the NASCAR Hall of Fame?
That was huge, because here's a guy that I loved as a brother, still do to this day, will do anything for him. And to see him get inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame was unbelievable. In addition to the same time Bobby was inducted, right? So it was a huge party for JGR. Like, it was such a great time. And I know I talk about JGR because I've been there for so long, but to see Tony be able to amass what he amassed over his career, it's pretty awesome. And just to be a small spot in it I can remember his Busch Grand National days where I didn't know if he was ever going to finish a race, because every week I felt like we were cutting a front or rear clip off.
Yeah.
To winning the championship, not once, but twice, right? Like, it's just so cool. Like I said, as a little kid, I never thought I'd be in this spot.
Yeah. So when we first got in touch and we were kind of connected and catching up a little bit, I was honestly kind of surprised to learn that you were still at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been there now?
30 years.
30 years.
On the books, 30. Off the books, 31.
Now, what's that mean?
Meaning the first year I went to work there, I was working at night, cutting up Dale Jarrett's cars to get ready for the guys for the fab shop for the next morning. So I worked for Donnie Allison's kids building Legends cars during the day, and then at night I would work. It was usually about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night till midnight, 1 in the morning at JGR, and then go rinse and repeat every day.
Wow. Well, we could talk about, Tony Stewart's one part of the equation.
Sure.
When it comes to Joe Gibbs Racing. You guys have seen a lot of highs, seen a lot of lows.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean to be a part of that organization that's now, considered one of the flagship organizations in the sport?
I can tell you this, that if Joe or anybody in that organization were to fire me, I would not work for another race team. I would find something else to do because I feel like I've hit the pinnacle of the sport.
Yeah.
And for yourself and other folks that have been to our building, we've got banners hung on the wall, and I take extreme pride in, I was only not a part of one of them. Of 219 wins, I had a part in 218 of them.
No.
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir. Yep. The only one I wasn't a part of was DJ when he won the 500. Yep.
So when did you go? 30 years ago would have been 95?
95.
Okay.
So I was hired in March of 95, and the first race I went to the racetrack was the Charlotte 600 that Bobby won in 95. Yep.
That's not fair, man.
Well, it's funny you talk about that, and my buddies and my wife and my family, we all talk about it. I've been able to experience 3 Winston Cup championships or Nextel championships or whatever, what have you. It's crazy to me, and with Kyle Busch and everything.
Yeah.
I am extremely blessed and extremely fortunate because there's guys that go to work every day in this series that honestly don't have a shot, to win a race or win a championship, but they're doing it because they love it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter. So I feel like, man, it doesn't get much better than this.